friends, I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table. And of course, you already know that if you're a fan of the table, and if you're not, you're new, and you're welcome to the channel. We're doing a little bit of an unveil. I like doing these things on occasion when they crop up. For my BattleTech fans, keep in mind, I just recently got the the Dark Ages TRO. It just came in the mail yesterday. I didn't want. I guess I could have did a quote opening of that, but it's not all that exciting. I guess none of these are exciting. I don't know. It depends on how you want to look at it. In this case, the TRO is actually something. It contains a bunch of mechs designs I don't own. I've never seen. I never utilized. It's in an era that I missed, and I'm looking forward to reading through it. And at some point down the road, I will do a review. Excuse me, a review on it. Although I won't review the mechs themselves unless there's something very specific that kind of interests me. That's a format that other people do, and they do it very well, and I don't know that it's something I want to really mess with. I also was killing time between customers yesterday, so I stopped, or the day before yesterday, so I stopped by Mayhem Comics, which is a game store in Des Moines, and it's been in business for damn near 40 years. Anyway, I went in just out of curiosity to see if anything was new on their shelves, and I was actually surprised that they have a number of BattleTech items. They have 2 copies of the the Clan Invasion TRO. Now, I watched a couple other people's videos on the TRO. I think not. I don't know if it was Mechanical Frog or who it was that I watched here a couple weeks ago, and they had reviewed it, and it told me that basically it's just an updated version that covers all the mechs that came out in 3050, 3055s, TROs, and I already have those. And like I said, when you're talking 40 bucks for something, I need to be very frugal and careful on where I invest my money. So buying the Dark Age, I was positively sure that it was full of stuff I didn't have, and it was worth having in my arsenal, as opposed to buying a updated version of basically older designs, which is great. If you never had those TROs and you can't get them used, then being able to get a repurposed version of an updated one is great. I mean, I recommend it highly. If you're new to the franchise or fairly new, those are TROs you definitely want, because it covers a lot of machines that are considered, you know, mainline and or standard in the inner sphere, even though that they've been heavily modified and upgraded as the eras progress. Anyway, so this here is what I would call a pocket game system. It's very small. It's very literally small. It is compact. It's very thin on rule sets, so it's very rules light. It's something you could, if you were stuck someplace and you're traveling, this is the sort of thing you could easily put into a side pocket on your laptop case, or in it's whatever, and your carry-all, and then just have an impromptu game with somebody while you're sitting in a plane or on a bus, or whatever you're doing. Or if you're just looking for something quick to pop out when half your group doesn't show up, I would recommend looking into this, and I hope that Mr. Bloat, Eric Bloat, does more of them. This is produced by Bloat Games, and this is a fellow who's living many people's dreams. He decided at some point he was going to produce his own game system, and he's actually achieved that, and he's achieved success with it. He now goes to major conventions. He was at Gen Con and had a vendor's table. He's got a whole different set of game systems available, and I'll put a link below. So I highly recommend going and looking at his stuff. Give him a shout out to him. If you leave a message or something, tell him you saw it here and you thought that Rick here at your seat at the table suggested to go look at it. So this was a Kickstarter that he did, and I've already done a previous video where I got a PDF version, the published version of this. So this has actually been improved and enhanced slightly based off of the results from that first one. As you can see, I've yet to, this first time taking it out of its package, and there was a time, you go way back, they used to make, it wasn't unheard of to find these kind of games occasionally the style, this small, compact, very light rules system available for purchase. But we got to go back to way back to Palladium, before Palladium. If you've ever seen the original Traveler game system, this is somewhere to, in style setup wise as Traveler. Traveler had many thin books as opposed to bigger, heavier, thicker books, and they covered a lot of different stuff. If you're looking at Traveler today, it is nothing like it initially started out in the 80s as, and I know that for a fact, Jack, because my buddy was buying it. I didn't purchase it in part because I didn't like how simplistic it looked. It plays great, don't get me wrong, but we're also, even back then, I had to make choices. Do I keep buying D&D? Do I buy this? Do I buy that? I bought a lot of stuff, but it's not because I just bought it because I was a nut, and I chose to spend a significant portion of my weekly check. Back when, in the day when I started making $3.35 an hour was minimum wage, and I spent $25 a week, $30 a week at the bookstore. That's like spending a couple $100 today every week, and I can never do that again. That's just never going to happen again. So anyway, let's take a look at this. You've got a very easy character sheet on the back page. So in theory, you could just scratch it, grab a notebook, a little bit of scratch paper or something like that, and you could easily make out something on the fly without damaging your book. And so we got the credits written by Eric Bloat, art by Phil Stone. I also recommend looking up Phil Stone. He's doing some crack stuff. He recently did some cover art and some artwork for Magic the Gathering and some other stuff, and he's another one of these he's an established up-and-comer. I mean, I've had a few opportunities to talk briefly with him through some Facebook channels that we all share, and hey, great. And then of course the base rules here by this Jason Tossi. I don't know Jason, but Eric speaks a lot highly of him, quite a bit. So anyway, all it says here, available at bloatgames.com. That's BLOAT games.com. And like I said, I will try to remember to put a link down here at the bottom. If I don't, I will get to it, I promise. So you get your setting. Welcome to your apocalypse. It's been almost 400 years since Earth endured its first nuclear war. Once looked up to as the world's leading country, with its prosperous economy, vast global spanning military might, America suffered the brunt of the onslaught of nuclear attacks, turning empire into a smoldering, unrecognizable wasteland of its former glory. And it goes on to that. So we got our modern history, the rules. Keep it simple. Players describe what their characters do. The GM advises them when the action is impossible, demands a cost or extra steps, or presents a risk. Players can revise the plans before committing actions that have high risk. Players only need to roll to avoid risk. So in theory, you only carry a couple dice. That's all you need. They recommend a D8, a D10, and a D12, but I'm telling you right now, I've said this before, and I did a video a long time ago. If you have a deck of cards handy, boom, you can easily convert a deck of cards into an impromptu dice. Another method of doing it, and it's kind of crude, but I have done this myself in the past, is to basically take a piece of paper and you can wad it up and write numbers on the faces and throw that around, or you could just do yourself, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and then you do a drop, and whichever your pin's closest to, that's the number you get. It's crude, it's not as effective as an actual dice, but there's ways to make improvisation as you go. So the rules are pretty basic. Rolling for outcomes, what happens for catastrophic stuff. So we got rolling, examples, how to roll for defense, how to harm, dying, health, loadout, advancement, currency, luck. And then there's a little bit of section here for player and GM advice. You got origins, archetypes, so you could have a nuke child archetype, a meat bag. You could be second or true citizens of the new America, as they call it itself, true citizen. Choose your invent skills, so it gives you some basics of psychic powers, mystic abilities, mutant abilities, or mutant's appearance. An easy detailed chart for creating things like a call sign or a nickname, demeanor, appearance, items. So if you want something completely random that you're going to rise to the challenge to work, you can run that out, choose it, and basically the skill sets and stuff are pretty basic. So if you think you need to have driving as a skill or climbing as a skill, then that's a skill, and you just decide that you're going to use it, and this is how. Then we go into a chapter on gear, two-way radios, cybernetic enhancements, armor reinforcements, body armors, power armors, a handful of vehicles, hover tanks, and hover cycles. Then we have our little rumor channel or chart. I do love my charts. D20, so we got factions and places to visit, experimental armor retrieval, jobs, credits, and so on. So as you can see, as a game, it's very basic, but yet it's very rich. There's a very well thought out environment. The game sandbox is pretty straightforward, post-apocalyptic. So if you want to tweak it to fit your version, if you want your version to look something like, I don't know, Road Warrior, or the Mad Max trilogy, or if you want to look like I don't know, Zombieland, whatever, it's there. It's just up to your imagination. The mechanics just give you the framework to work from on a basis. If you take it straight value right out of the book, you can't go wrong with it. And it's my understanding that Eric has already has a couple small additional supplement material page-wise that you can get from his website or from his web store. And potentially, if it sells well and does well over time, he very well do some more supplements and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't mind writing something for this sort of a game, because I really love post-apocalyptic settings. I do, and there's so many things here, so much stuff here. The potential is awesome, and I think it's a great game, and I hope he does really well with it. I expect that potentially this is something, if it did really well, that he could expand into a full-blown RPG system, or even a tabletop war game system with it. I mean, it's just it's great. I mean, I guess I'm gushing a little bit. Anyway, till next time, I'm Rick, and you guys have a great weekend. Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies,